Good afternoon, parents. Welcome and thank you for joining us at our first virtual mental health and well-being parent forum. My name is Mr. Ken Williams. I am the district parent liaison. If you have any issues or questions or need resources or support and help, you can always reach out to me anytime. My contact information is on the website, championparkacademy.net. So if you need anything, definitely reach out to me up on the parent page on the website. We're in for a treat today. We got two great presenters going to be helping us out as we navigate through this historical time of 2020. But CPA is still here with you and for you, and we want to help you as you navigate, you and your student, through this this tedious process. I want to thank the team for putting this forum together. Ms. Randall, who's our district student assistant team coordinator, Ms. Perry, the high school counselor, Ms. Wilson, middle school assistant principal, Mr. Olson, middle school counselor, Mr. Lott, high school dean of students, Ms. Vanner, elementary social worker, Ms. Lewis, elementary behavior specialist, and Ms. Sane, high school career and scholarship counselor. That's the whole team. That's our district student assistance team, and they have come together, bringing Mr. Pitman and Mr. Brown together to present to you guys tonight in our mental health and well-being parent forum. With no further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Randall, and she will get the show started.
Good evening and welcome again. I'm Mrs. Randall. Before I forget, I just want to let parents and participants know that if you have any questions throughout the presentations, please just put them in the Q&A. Our presenters will attempt to answer all questions, but however, if they do not get to them, we have everyone's email addresses, so we will make sure your questions are answered. You can also post comments in the chat as well. As Mr. Williams said, we are part of the support team for the district, and our main responsibility is to make sure the social and emotional needs of our students and our families are being met. In addition, we want to connect our families to important resources. Give me 1 minute. And here is our agenda. So my job tonight is just to let families know how you can find important resources. There are two main ways that you can do that. Mr. Williams already introduced everyone, so you can, in addition to himself, you can contact any member of our support team. We have staff in all three of our buildings, so our contact information is on the website. And we also encourage our families to frequently visit our website, also check your emails. That's essentially how we advertise our resources and programs that we provide through CPA, but we also post important links and community resources. I have an example of just one of the resources that we like to post on our website. This is greatstart.org. And as you can see, this website has a lot of information on how to get assistance with food, housing, bills, pretty much everything. They also talk about free COVID testing at no cost. So these are the types of things that we like to post for our families. Next, I'm going to turn it over to Mrs. Sane, who is going to share some important resources. And she's another person who will go ahead and post those things on the website. And although she works in the high school, a lot of times she has information for K through 12.
Ms. Sane, I believe you're muted, Ms. Sane.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Mrs. Sane. As Ms. Randall said, I'm the college and scholarship counselor at the school. And I just wanted to take a moment to share just a few samples of just resources that I would post. I know that especially during this time, there are a lot of instances where maybe, finances is a concern, especially if you're trying to put yourself or you're trying to put your student through school very soon. So this is an example of a scholarship search site form where you, with any of these links, you can register and they will actually send you scholarship information. And a lot of times that scholarship information will be specific to you or your students' needs. In addition to this, there is a resource that I want to bring to your attention, and I'm not sure if people have heard about this or not, but it's called Future for Frontliners. So our governor has put something out where if you were an essential worker, then you have the opportunity to either go back to school if you have not completed your high school diploma, or you can also go to community college to get an associate's degree, and it's for free. And that's going to be available for any adult. So it could be for yourself, but it could also be for our senior students who are getting ready to start school very soon. So definitely, if you were a frontline worker, make sure you take time to look that up. That's an awesome resource to allow you to be able to get your degree for free. And I think that they just put the link to the application in the chat. So if you look in the chat, you're going to be able to find that particular website so you can go on and see if you're eligible to apply.
My name is Philip Pitman, and I'm the education consultant for New Oakland Family Centers. And I'm a former school guy. So I was one time a high school English teacher, North Farmington High School, then assistant principal over there. And then I moved over to the elementary level, was a principal in Wall Lake District, curriculum director. So I was fast tracking to the superintendency until I realized what that job was all about and decided I needed to do something else. And Paul talked about suicide prevention. And that's something that, as he mentioned, does affect so many of us, and sadly for me too. And I lost a best friend of mine about 10 years ago. And so that's partly why I've been called to serve in the mental health field. And so my role is to connect with school folks and families and students and make sure people have the support they need. And I'll share some information with you as well. So I'm going to go to a PowerPoint. And so what I wanted to share with you was what parents need to know about anxiety and depression. So I'm a father as well, and I have two kids. They're old. So son is 21, which means I had him when I was about 8.5, or at least that's what I like to think. But more and more gray hair showing up all the time, thanks to him and my daughter, who is 17. But great kids. But I know it's challenging as a parent in terms of what do you look for? So what are those telltale signs? Paul shared the idea that when you see a sudden change, that's a key that there's something going on that is worth a closer look. And so anxiety and depression sometimes look very similar because their symptoms look the same from the outside in many cases, or at least similar. But anxiety is really about that fear, that worry that starts to take over. So we all feel anxious, right? Williams mentioned to me he was a little nervous to go on tonight. No surprise there. So yeah, Brown, he was fine. Williams, a little shaky. So we all get nervous. But when that starts to take over, when that anxiety takes over and it becomes chronic, it becomes debilitating, it gets in the way of your school life if you're a student, or your family life, that's where the concerns may warrant a call to somewhere like New Oakland Family Centers. Potentially, if the concerns persist and reach a higher level, that's where Havenwick, where Mr. Brown is from, might be the right choice. Depression, similar. So there are times where we all feel down. We feel sad. Tough things happen to us, to our families. When it becomes a bigger concern is when they last for several days or going on weeks. And that heaviness, that emotional heaviness, is weighing people down for a long period of time, not just a passing difficult moment. So with anxiety, as I mentioned, anxiety and depression look very similar. So fatigue, hard time concentrating, feeling that muscle tension, that tightness. Your heart's racing and pounding. But again, not for the short term, but it's staying that way over an extended period. Grinding teeth, that's one for kids that is a telltale sign. So sometimes even during the day when they're awake and they're not really concentrating on anything specific, but they zone out, but they start grinding their teeth because of all the tension they're feeling. Certainly during their sleep as well. A lot of teeth grinding might be a sign that they're suffering from some anxiety. And sleep becomes a real issue. So hard time going to sleep, hard time staying asleep, very restless. This is something that was a real challenge with our son, so who does suffer from anxiety. And also unsatisfying sleep. When you wake up or your child wakes up and they're still fatigued, it's like they didn't even go to sleep, they're still tired. Now, the emotional symptoms are the easier way to determine, is this more of an anxiety issue versus a depression issue? So you'll see some restlessness. They're more irritable. They're more on edge. Like no matter what you say to them, they might explode. They might react overly aggressively, too strongly, given what you're talking with them about. That extra irritability might be a sign, again, especially for an ongoing basis. They have a hard time controlling their degree of worry, where it's beyond what you would expect from anyone else, and also specifically your own child. And then where it starts to get even more concerning perhaps is when the feeling of dread or panic starts to take over, where they may be difficulty breathing and the fear starts to override their whole system. So that's a quick overview of what anxiety can look like. But there are a number of disorders that go along with anxiety. So separation anxiety is one we see in schools, especially with our younger students, preschool age to early elementary. And that's where they are so terrified of being away from their parents, their grandparents, their guardians, foster parents, their caregivers, the people who provide them their comfort. That separation can cause tremendous panic. And certainly as an elementary school principal, I saw that with some of our students, where they did not want to walk in the building, and we were a very friendly, very welcoming place, but they were so terrified to leave their comfort zone. You could have maybe phobias. There are a lot of phobias. Some people, public speaking actually is a number one phobia, so I'm fighting for that one right now. But it could be spiders for my daughter, or going to the doctor or dentist, any other kind of scary animal. People can develop a phobia for those kinds of things. We already talked about school with separation anxiety, but people may actually develop a legitimate fear of school or other places. Where people might be. So they have a social anxiety. They struggle in being around people. They may also fixate on their future and what their future is going to look like, what's happening in the world. And there no doubt are tons of challenges going on in this world right now. So they may just have this generalized anxiety. They also might have this sudden onset of intense fear. And this is what I mentioned before. And this is the panic, where they can't breathe, they're shaky, they get sweaty, their adrenaline is pumping, and it may be hard for them to even tell you why. It may seem to appear from nowhere without a specific cause. So those would be certain anxiety disorders that we might be looking out for. Again, my daughter has a fear of spiders, but it isn't causing her to stay awake at night. It's not causing her to miss school. So it's okay to be afraid of some things. I mean, we like not to be, but it's when these start to take over your life in any way, shape, or form. All right, so depression, the symptoms may look the same on a physical level. Again, the sluggishness, this fatigue, this sort of general droopiness about their being and their personality. Again, difficulty concentrating, got the pain in their body. I think Mr. Brown mentioned this also, but changes in appetite or weight, any sudden changes, especially if they stop eating or if they're just gorging themselves on food, which would be uncharacteristic for them. These major changes in mood, but also in their physical being, that can be a sign that there's something that we might need to take a closer look at. And then again, some sleep issues. The emotional symptoms that's where it's a little easier to tell the difference between anxiety and depression. A key change is when the child, and can be adult too, but when the child is no longer interested in the things they normally love. So they may be a basketball junkie, love basketball everything. but suddenly basketball doesn't appeal to them anymore. So they don't care that LeBron's got another championship. They have lost interest. This might be a sign that they're suffering from depression. Sadness, feelings of emptiness, feeling like things don't matter anymore. So they take on a really pessimistic or hopeless type demeanor. So no matter what happens, they're the glass half empty person about everything in an extreme way. Again, we get some anger and irritability. Also can feel this feelings of guilt where, and there may not even be something that they should feel guilty for, but for whatever reason, they feel a personal guilt, or they're taking the blame for something that really isn't their responsibility. They feel like they're not worth it, that people don't care about them. People don't love them. People won't miss them if they're gone. And then as Mr. Brown brought up, thoughts of death, thoughts of suicide, or going even to the next level of extreme, actually taking attempts at their own life. So these are some of the things we might see with depression once it starts to linger over a period of time. Mr. Brown did talk already at length about suicide prevention. So a couple things for you. And he did mention the hotline, which is great. I have that for you here too. When in doubt, call 911. Okay, call 911. If there's imminent danger perhaps about to occur, 911 is a good option. Stay with the person. Try to keep anything away from them that could cause harm. Guns especially, that's the number one most lethal device we often have access, and sometimes kids can get access to them. Even if you think, my gun is locked up, I have a safe, they don't know the combination. It's crazy how much kids know. So kids often know more than we think they do. And it could be that we may think they don't know, but we want to remove these things from access. What can be hard to do is to listen without judgment, all right? Regardless, whether it's suicide or some other kind of mental health concern. So we don't want to argue, we don't want to threaten, we don't want to yell, we don't want to say they're just faking it for attention. So we want to listen, be a supportive listener. Not easy to do, especially when our emotions elevate as parents. Great National Suicide Hotline, 800 number, 273-8255. And then New Oakland also has a 24-hour emergency hotline that I want to point your attention to. And that's covered by our own therapists. So we have 10 therapists who work the phones 24/7, 365. And you can reach, so the professional master's degree level therapists can contact any of them, 877-800-1650. Don't need an appointment. If you're having an issue, it's 2 a.m. on a Saturday, you can call. Your child can call. Anyone can use this number at any time. It's not anything that we bill for. That's a service that we provide that we're really proud of, and it's an underrated service that's out there for you. Now, COVID has made these issues with anxiety and depression and any other kind of mental health issue, made them worse. So in a survey, so this is high school and college age, so a little bit older, but 1,000 people responded to this survey, and more than half said that they were worried about their own mental health. So half of students, college and high school age, and those from the data I've seen, that's similar across the age span. So young kids through teenage years and beyond. And then 25% of these students said that they knew a peer who developed suicidal thoughts since the beginning of the pandemic. So this isn't something that was there beforehand, but with the onset of the pandemic in March, and now we're going on a long time. I don't have to tell you that. And so about 25% have had these suicidal thoughts. Doesn't mean they attempted, but they're thinking about it since the pandemic, which is alarming. Of course, as we've all felt, there's more stress, there's more anxiety right now. And kids, they're worried about their family members, especially those that they know may have medical conditions that could put them at greater risk. Many of us have suffered our own losses during COVID. We've lost loved ones. We've lost people we know about. And for kids, to lose a loved one, obviously, is a very difficult thing to manage, to know how to work through grief and loss associated with the passing of someone, or just a debilitating illness related to COVID or any other kind of medical conditions. There are new concerns about their own futures because so much is up in the air. The stability that we had as a society, or thought we had, has been shaken up. And so kids aren't sure what their future looks like. What's school going to be like? Schools had to adjust. Homes have had to adjust. The workplace is different for many of us. So a lot of concerns about the future, and we don't typically have many good answers for them in these kind of situations. Then for those who are at school, they might fear that maybe they're not going to be safe at school despite all the amazing protocols in place at schools. And they're worried, oh no, I don't want to bring this home to my family. I don't want to put my family at risk. And on the other hand, we have other students who are worried about the effects of staying home and the negative impacts of social isolation, especially for our outgoing, really talkative, chatty, social kids, and that's many of our kids, to be home for so long without as much interaction as they're used to is really challenging. So we've seen anxiety and depression skyrocket during this time. And so at New Oakland Family Centers, we've shifted to, we still have people who come into our centers, but we also have shifted to telehealth appointments where over the phone, we can have appointments with therapists, also over a Zoom type call like this as well, where it's a video chat, which makes it a lot easier for people to get services when they need them without having to worry about, getting the car out to one of our locations. So that actually has been something that's really made our services more accessible. So definitely we've seen a major rise in anxiety, depression kind of concerns because of COVID. And it certainly was a concern before, but those concerns have gone up. So what can we do when we start to see some of these things happen? If any extreme signs of depression or anxiety, please contact New Oakland. Please contact your school support team. We have some great people here. I've enjoyed getting to know them. A lot of resources to help you, to help your children. There are also some things you can do at home. So in addition to getting the right treatment, some of the simple things, some of the common sense things, eat healthy, physical activity, 60 minutes. And if you're noticing a lot of mood issues, it's surprising how much some physical activity gets some of those endorphins going, move around. And I know we may not be spending as much time outside the home these days, but there's a lot you can do inside. So be physically active, get enough sleep. That's a thing that most of our kids aren't getting enough sleep, and kids need an amazing amount of sleep. So our young ones need 10 or more hours. Even our high school students need up to 8 hours. And once you move past 18, 19, then you can get by with 7. And I know many of us adults get by with less than that, although that's not healthy for us either. But our kids, they're still growing. Their minds are developing. Their bodies are developing. They need a tremendous amount of sleep. And then also mindfulness. We don't have enough time to go into all of that, but that's being aware of what's happening, aware of what you're feeling, removing the judgment that you might have about yourself or about others, trying to accept and relax. So mindfulness is a way to bring some stress levels down and to be healthier. So for New Oakland, we believe in the right care at the right time. Tons of services for you. We have walk-in appointments. You don't have to make an appointment in advance. You can show up even during COVID. We have all the protocols in place. Wear a mask. But you can also call, and I'll have the numbers for you in a minute. We have locations, 14 across the state. We're going coast to coast now. We have one in Port Huron, one in Grand Rapids, and several places in between. But our main footprint is here in southeastern Michigan. We have 3 locations in Macomb and 2 in Oakland County. We have one up in Flint, a couple in Wayne County. And then we also have some locations in Ann Arbor, Lansing area. So several locations for you. This is our addresses and our phone numbers. I'll make this available through CPA. They'll have this information for you up on their website as well, so you can access this later. And we work with people with any number of concerns, anything related to mental health, to social emotional well-being, behavior. This is what we do. We see equal number of kids and adults, basically, take all insurances, public, private, you name it. So we are here to help you. We're right in the community and have been so for about 30 years. There's a round robin tour. I won't kill you with the details here, but number of things. We have our highest level of care is partial hospitalization program. That's for kids. We have different age group. We have elementary age group. We have middle school, high school, and an adult program that's separate, but same idea, which is 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. It lasts about 2 weeks. And that's something we provide transportation for. pick the kids right up at home and bring them in. We still do it even during the pandemic, again, following all the protocols, social distancing, all of that. But that's our highest level of care. Offer tremendous amount of therapeutic resources. We do some intensive crisis stabilization. There are situations that we can actually deploy our therapists right out into the community to help. And we have a specialty center for eating disorders in Farmington Hills, which is open to anybody. We also transport to that. And just in Livonia right now, we're opening a substance abuse specialized clinic. It's not a detox facility, but it's one that helps treat the addiction issues along with whatever other disorders might be in play there. So a lot of different things there. And I have our main New Oakland number for you. Call that number. They'll put you in touch with the right clinic, get you all set up with whatever you might need. We also have that 24-hour emergency hotline. My own information is right here. You're welcome to contact me. My email address, my cell phone, you can call, you can text. So wide open. Want to help you, and we want to do it in a timely fashion. So thanks so much. Appreciate you having me. Really enjoyed being here. And thanks for being such a wonderful audience.
I did have a couple of questions, Mr. Pittman. I know I'm the social worker, and when I work with students before, I kind of ask them about coping skills and things like that, and they really don't have a good take on it. And you mentioned relaxation and mindfulness. Could you give our audience like some examples of, some things they can do in the home?
Yeah. So, a lot of times when we're agitated or we're elevated in terms of our emotions, a lot of times we hear people will say, take a deep breath. And for the most part, I think most people just ignore that. They hear you and then they don't do it. It is remarkable how much deep breathing really does help with relaxation. And so one of the things that the Navy SEALs do a version of this. I'm not quite a Navy SEAL, so I've adapted it for the regular folks out there like myself. But a great breathing exercise is to try to breathe in as much air as you can, even for 4 seconds, which feels like a lifetime when you're doing it. But to breathe in as much air as you can. So you're expanding your lungs, your diaphragm, breathing in as much air. And then as you exhale, you hum and you breathe out of your nose. So in through, and then as you're breathing out of your nose. And you want to empty all of the air out of your lungs or out of your diaphragm, depending on where you're breathing from. But you want to empty all of that out and then do that multiple times. So Navy SEALs, to avoid the panic, and they're dealing with some situations that can cause some major anxiety, they do that for minutes. For me, I do it once and I practically get the chills because of how much better I feel. So, but doing that a couple cycles of deep breathing is a major benefit. Also, moving away from the stressful situation. So often, especially when we're angry, we want to go right to the source of our anger, or what we perceive to be the source of our anger. We're in fight or flight mode, and many of us go to fight. Some people go to flight where they want to get out of there. And so I'm not talking you got to run away, and I'm not talking about being a coward. What I'm talking about, though, is removing yourself from what is upsetting you so much. Because when we get angry, especially, our thinking brain shuts down. Our emotional brain takes over, and that's back from the days when we were worried about saber-toothed tigers at the entrance of our caves. Something like that shows up, you have to be ready to either fight or escape. So human beings have evolved, but not that much. And so we still have fight or flight mechanisms that trigger with any kind of really difficult situation that we might be facing. So to pull yourself away from whatever you're perceiving as that's agitating you, that's scaring you, that's those kinds of things, to give yourself a break from that so you can calm your emotional levels down and get your thinking brain moving again. Because when the emotional brain takes over, that's where we say horrible things. That's where we may be physically aggressive. And that's where things that we regret, even if we don't admit it after the fact, that we regret it. But that's where typically we're in reaction mode and not much good happens in those situations. And the same for us as parents. And believe me, I've been plenty upset with my kids in my own life. And I need to do that sometimes, where I'm realizing that my levels are really going going to the roof. And we need to find an outlet for all that emotion. So like when firefighters are putting out a fire in a house, they punch a hole in the roof to let out some of all the tension, all the explosiveness, right? Same thing for us. So remove yourself from the situation and find something that can help you release all the emotion. So for me, I'm into sports and athletics. So doing some movement kind of things helps. Even simple things like it's called crossing the midline. And Miss Randall probably knows more about this than me, but even doing twisting movements, reaching where you're crossing the midline of your body, that activates different parts of your brain that helps to move you out of one of those cycles. A lot of times I think of the cycle of negativity as like the drift. You're drifting downwards into this pit of something bad. And we want to stop that. And we want to refocus ourselves, reframe our thinking towards our more elevated thoughts. And for me, a lot of times it takes a change of scenery and also doing something, especially active, where I can burn off some of that energy, that negative energy that I've acquired. So those are a little bit more physical. So the breathing, remove yourself from the situation, cross the midline, do some physical movements. Those are some good ones. Some people really like to journal. And one thing that you can do for your kid, and this is hard to do, and you'll have to decide for yourself as parents how comfortable you feel with this. But for our son, we did do this. He dealt with a lot of anger. And so we had a journal that he could write in where it wasn't going to be something that we were going to monitor. Again, you have to decide as parents how comfortable you are with that. But we wanted him to have a safe place to write out his thoughts so that he was not acting on them or even verbalizing horrible things towards others, but rather he had a place to journal and put his ideas, even if they were not very nice things. It was something that, again, wasn't going to be published, and we weren't going to snoop in on them as parents. So that was something that we did on a family level. But writing can be an outlet. Having someone who you can talk to, who's supportive, who's caring, who's a good listener, is huge. So often we, as parents, we love to just jump right into problem-solving mode. We want to help them get over the issue. But in many cases, they just need us to support them, empathize, recognize that, yeah, that does sound tough, man. And just let them know that, yeah, they're not crazy for feeling the way they're feeling, that we understand. We can, even if we don't necessarily agree, but we can understand that they're feeling the way they are. So those are, I probably overtalked that, Ms. Randall.
Oh, no, you're fine. There was a question in the chat kind of related to that. We know with COVID-19, most of our students are virtual, so many of them or some of them may be in violent environments, whether it's actually in their home or in their neighborhood. What are some things that those students can do?
Yeah, and so, I mean, safety is a basic need for all of us, right? And so if we're in those unsafe environments, then our basic needs are not being met. So how can we get some space from the threats? So what can we do to provide a sense of real safety, as well as a sense of safety? So that might mean, can they stay with grandparents? Can they stay with aunt and uncle? Is there somewhere else they can stay that's a different environment from whatever the threat might be? So that could be an option. So sometimes, and again, COVID makes this hard, right? Because we have to be careful about spreading the virus all over creation. However, when it comes to direct threats to your physical safety, that's more imminent harm. And so we need an environment where we can be safe. And that's easier to come by for some, more so than others. And also for us as adults, right? We need to take it upon ourselves that we need to provide the conditions where our kids can thrive. And that might mean checking our own behavior or helping to protect our children or children that we know and care about from other potential sources of harm. So I know that's not a perfect answer, because there sometimes are not easy answers, especially when the home can be a really explosive environment, especially on a regular basis. And if we have substance abuse issues that can make it where you're not quite sure what you're going to get from the people in your environment, that's where we're looking for, what are those danger signs that the people who might be your caregivers, that they may be going to a place will put you in harm's way. Have some options, not just one option. Do you have other options of places you can go temporarily or for even a longer term stay if needed? Certainly, again, we have a 24-hour crisis line. You can call one of our people, And so we have trained therapists who can walk kids through situations. If we need to make an emergency call, we can do that. Like I said, there are situations where we can deploy right to the home even, or to, anywhere in the community, to a group home, to Starbucks, to you name it. There are situations that we can actually deploy our people to help diffuse a crisis level situation. So that is, again, an underrated resource, and one that when people don't know what to do, they can talk to a professional who can talk them through that, an caring adult who is also well trained in the field, and can walk them through next steps. Again, probably not a perfect answer, but we have to create safe environments for our kids, and they need to feel safe at a basic level.
Just to follow up on your last comments, we had a parent meeting maybe about a month ago in the high school, and I stressed then and I stress now that although our students are virtual, the support team is still here for them, and they can, we have work cell numbers, we have our emails where students and families can reach out. And we just wanted to let our families know that although you're virtual, you're still our families, and we're still here to support you. Also, going back to Mr. Brown's presentation about the suicide prevention, we do have a suicide protocol throughout the district. So definitely, parents, if you're unsure what to do in those situations, you can reach out to a social worker or a counselor in the school, because we are trained to kind of assess those situations and make the appropriate referrals. So definitely do that. Also, want to encourage families, when there are major changes or losses, going on with your students. We talked about, the depression and anxiety, when there are deaths, we know we're certainly experiencing a large number of those. Those are times just to let us know. Also, if there's separation or divorce or things like that, or loss of housing resources, those are times you want to, reach out to us, because those things do impact our kids, even though sometimes, we may not talk directly to them about it. They're aware of when these things are going on in the home. So definitely let the support teams in the buildings know, so we can step in and, also provide referrals to, like the wonderful resources we heard about tonight. And you have a few minutes, participants, families, if you have any questions, you could put it in the chat or the Q&A, and we can try to get those answered. And also, there will be an evaluation of tonight's program that will be sent out. We really want you to take the time to complete it, to just kind of let us know what you thought about the program. Also, it's an opportunity for you to let us know what are some other topics or supports that you may need in the future. So that's it for me. Mr. Williams.
All right, parents, if there are any more questions, go ahead and toss them into the chat. If not, we're not going to hold you long. It's been a great time. Dr. Pitman, just want to thank you personally for that presentation. You just did a phenomenal job. I could listen to you all day. Very relevant, very to the point, and you made it refreshing and eye-opening and enlightening. So I just want to thank you for your words today, and your presentation was very, very good. Very good. We'll definitely have you back.
Yeah, thank you. And really admire the leadership team at CPA. So outstanding group of individuals. And as Ms. Randall said, they are here to help, right? And they know your kids. They know you. They care about you. Virtual, they want to help. So do not hold back. If you have questions, if you have concerns, reach out to your teams, reach out to us. We're working together. And that's something that I'm really proud of, is being able to partner with CPA and be able to speak to all you tonight. So thanks so much for having me. Really enjoyed it. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Pitman. Thank you for coming. Thank you. We're going to close out. Just a reminder for those who are in need of free Wi-Fi. Channel Park Academy has purchased Wi-Fi through Comcast. So if you or if you know of any family that belongs to CPA that needs Wi-Fi, please reach out to me and let me know as soon as possible. We can just get you taken care of so your students can be engaged academically at home. Thank Dr. Pitman and thank Mr. Brown for their presentation tonight. Thank the team again, the student assistance team tonight. Thank you, my boss, Ms. Diane Fisher and Ms. Gwen Miller, for helping support putting this parent forum on tonight. Parents, if you are not following us on the website or through social media, through Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter, I'm not on neither one of those barely. So if you, we always send out positive words of affirmation and positive notes. So if you're not on any social media platform, you can call me directly and I'll say something positive to you. Something uplifting. But we are on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter, as well as a lot of our resources are on our website. And this session that Dr. Pitman and Mr. Brown did tonight will be, it's being recorded and will be on our YouTube channel. So parents can go back and listen to these resources at a later date. So I think we're all set. I don't think there's any other questions in here.
Let me check.
Thank you, Ms. Richardson, for joining us again. You've been such an engaged and supportive parent. You were at our Parent Partner Network meeting and you're here tonight with us. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for all the parents who came out tonight. Please pass the word. We'll try to do something at least with the Parent Partner Network once a month, and we'll also have different social and emotional presentations at least once every 2 to 3 months, as we know we're in the pandemic and a lot of support and help is needed. So we're here with you and for you. Any help you ever need, please reach out to anybody on the panel, the counselor, social workers.
Excuse me, Mr. Williams, there is a question. Is state has CPA developed a basic social determinant of health screening for students and families as it relates to how COVID has affected the climate of homes and neighborhoods students live in? I think I understand your question. I know back in March when, this all started, and chime in, Mr. Williams, since that time and throughout, we have sent, a number of parent surveys and communications, trying to get data so we can assess what the needs are, whether it's resource needs, social, emotional, if it's food needs. And we do that, on an ongoing basis. And like I said, I'm the coordinator for the district team, and we meet frequently to address, those needs or areas of concerns for our families. And we work together to, to problem solve and come up with some resolutions for the issues that our students and families are having. So we are in constant communications with our students and families. So that's why it's so important to respond to those surveys and evaluations that we send out so we can address your needs. Did I leave anything out, Mr. Williams?
I think we're more than ever, we're trying to be engaged with our parents, to hear from them. That's what brought on this mental health and well-being forum. We asked parents what they want to talk about. At our Parent Partner Network meetings, we talk about resources and opportunities and challenges and struggles academically, socially, emotionally. So we're trying to, it's very important that parents reach out to us, but more importantly, we send out a parent perception survey to kind of see where you're at, what you need, how can we help you. So parents also, if you know of any resources or opportunities for adults as well as children to take advantage, please make sure you email me and send that to me, because we want to share any good resource that's across the city. The link we put in the chat earlier, goes all the way out to Dearborn. So there's food resources, there are DTE resources, the mental health and well-being resources, lights, gas, rent. So whatever the school, what the community school can do to help out, we're here for the parents and try to deal with at this historical time. So again, parents, if you have any resources, please don't hesitate to reach out to me, and I can forward it to all the other parents. But we're trying to be engaged with our parents on a day-to-day basis to figure out what you guys need, because this goes above and beyond academics. because like Dr. Pitman said, unhealthy household not a productive learning environment. So we need to make sure that the kid is safe at home and being taken care of in order to learn. So again, please reach out to us. I think that's it, man.
Yeah, I didn't see anything.
Any other questions? All right. So with that being said, thank you guys for joining us tonight. Thank you for coming. Stay tuned to our next events, and we look to see you at that time. Have a great night.
Good night. Thank you.
Night. Thank you.